Alex Carter lived in a small town in Montana, far away from the noise and crowds of big cities. He was an ordinary man with an extraordinary hobby: stargazing. Every night, he would climb up to the roof of his house or drive out to a quiet spot near the edge of town where the sky stretched endlessly above him. With his homemade radio telescope, Alex spent hours scanning the heavens, hoping to catch something unusual. To most people, it seemed like a strange way to spend time, but for Alex, it was a passion that kept him grounded. On one particularly cold evening, Alex bundled himself up in a thick jacket and gloves before heading out to his favorite spot. The air was crisp, and the stars twinkled brightly overhead. His equipment sat on the tailgate of his truck, humming softly as it scanned frequencies beyond human hearing. Alex adjusted the dials carefully, listening intently through his headphones. Most nights, all he heard was static, but tonight felt different. There was a faint pulse beneath the noise, rhythmic and deliberate, unlike anything he had ever encountered before. Curious, Alex recorded the signal and played it back several times. It wasn't random interference. It followed a pattern. Lines of code, almost musical in their repetition, emerged from the chaos. Excited by the discovery, Alex decided to share it with someone who might understand its significance. That someone was Samantha Brooks, or Sam, as everyone called her. She was a neuroscientist at the local university, and also one of Alex's closest friends. While she didn't share his fascination with outer space, she appreciated his enthusiasm, and often helped him make sense of his findings. The next morning, Alex drove to Sam's lab, carrying a USB stick loaded with data. When he arrived, she was already busy analyzing brain scans from her latest experiment. "Hey, Alex," she said without looking up. "What brings you here?" "I think I found something," Alex replied, holding up the USB stick. "Something." Big Sam raised an eyebrow, but set aside her work. Together, they plugged the device into her computer and began examining the signal. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a series of peaks and valleys on a graph. But when they ran it through a decoding program, patterns started to emerge. Letters, numbers, and symbols appeared on the screen, forming what could only be described as a message. "This can't be natural," Sam murmured, leaning closer to the monitor. "It's too structured, too intentional." Alex nodded eagerly. "Exactly. I knew you'd see it. This has to be some kind of communication. Maybe even aliens." Sam chuckled nervously. "Aliens, really? Why not?" Alex asked. "We've been sending signals out there for decades. Why wouldn't someone or something send one back, though?" Skeptical, Sam couldn't deny the evidence in front of them. Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly to decipher the message. It was slow going. The language, if it could even be called, that was unlike anything they had ever seen. Still, they made progress. Fragments of meaning began to surface, though much of it remained cryptic. As they delved deeper into the mystery, strange things started happening to Alex. One night, while working late in his workshop, he noticed that his laptop screen flickered erratically. Thinking it was just a glitch, he restarted the machine, only for the same thing to happen again moments later. Then the lights in the room dimmed, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Alex tried to ignore it, chalking it up to old wiring, but deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. His dreams became stranger too. Vivid images of alien landscapes filled his mind-towering crystalline structures. Endless oceans of liquid metal and skies painted in hues no human eye had ever seen. Sometimes shadowy figures appeared in these dreams, reaching out to him as if trying to communicate.
Ow.
Their voices were muffled, distorted, yet somehow familiar. Alex woke up each morning feeling drained, as if part of him had been left behind. In those surreal worlds, when he mentioned this to Sam, she grew concerned. "You're pushing yourself too hard," she said. "This whole thing is getting to you. Maybe you should take a break." But Alex shook his head. "No, Sam, something's happening. I can feel it. Whatever sent that signal, it knows. We're here, and it's trying to talk to us." Despite her reservations, Sam agreed to keep helping him. She suggested running tests to rule out any medical issues, but Alex insisted he was fine. He couldn't explain why, but he felt certain that the dreams and the strange occurrences weren't unrelated to the signal. If anything, they were clues, leading him closer to understanding its origin. One evening, after another long day of analysis, Alex sat alone in his workshop, staring at the decoded fragments of the message. Pieces of it hinted at concepts he barely grasped, dimensions beyond human comprehension, forms of existence that defied logic. As he read, a sudden wave of dizziness washed over him. The room spun, and for a moment he thought he might pass out. Then everything went black. When Alex came to, he found himself slumped over his desk, drool pooling on his notes. Confused, he wiped his face and glanced around. Nothing seemed out of place, except for one detail, etched into the surface. Of his desk were symbols identical to those in his dreams. They glowed faintly, pulsating like a heartbeat before fading away. Alex stared at the marks, his heart pounding. For the first time, fear crept into his thoughts. Was he losing his mind? Or was something or someone reaching out to him in ways he couldn't fully comprehend? Over the following days, the incidents grew more frequent. Lights flickered unpredictably. Devices malfunctioned. Even Sam noticed changes in Alex's behavior. He spoke faster, jumping between topics without explanation. Occasionally he muttered phrases in a language neither of them recognized. Despite her growing unease, Sam stayed by his side, determined to help him unravel the mystery. Then, one fateful night, Alex experienced something that changed everything. As he slept, the dream returned, more vivid than ever. This time, the shadowy figures weren't just reaching out, they were inside his mind, probing, searching. Alex felt exposed, vulnerable, as if every thought and memory was laid bare before them. Yet amid the intrusion, he sensed something else, desperation. These beings weren't hostile. They were lost, trapped, and seeking salvation. When Alex woke up, he knew what he had to do. Whatever these aliens wanted, whatever they were trying to achieve, he couldn't turn away. He had to respond to let them know they weren't alone. Little did he realize, however, that responding would come at a price far greater than he could have imagined. The next morning, Alex woke up feeling groggy and disoriented. His head throbbed, and his thoughts were jumbled, like pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit together. He sat up slowly, rubbing his temples, and glanced around the room. Something was off. The air felt heavier, charged with an energy he couldn't explain. On his desk, the symbols from the night before had faded completely, leaving only faint scratches behind. But Alex remembered them vividly, the way they glowed, the way they seemed alive. He got dressed and headed to Sam's lab, determined to tell her everything. By now, Alex trusted Sam more than anyone else. She wasn't just a scientist. She was a friend who listened without judgment and always tried to help, even when things got weird. When he arrived, she was already waiting for him, her face lined with worry. "You look terrible," she said bluntly as he walked in. "What's going on, Alex?" Alex hesitated. How could he explain what had happened? Would she believe him? Taking a deep breath, he began describing the dreams, the glowing symbols, and the strange sensations he'd been experiencing. Sam listened quietly, her expression unreadable. When he finished, there was a long pause. "Do you think I'm losing my mind?" Alex asked finally, his voice tinged with desperation. Sam shook her head. "No, I don't, but this is serious. Whatever is happening to you, it's not normal. Need to figure out what's causing it," she suggested, bringing in someone with expertise in neuroscience and technology. Someone who might be able to make sense of the changes in Alex's brain. That's when she mentioned Dr. Lucas Ryan, a well-known researcher who specialized in brain-computer interfaces. Though reluctant at first, Alex agreed to meet him. If anyone could help, it had to be someone like Dr. Ryan. A few days later, Alex found himself sitting in a sterile office at the university, facing Dr. Ryan across a cluttered desk. The man was younger than Alex had expected, and with sharp features and an intense gaze that made him feel like he was being studied under a microscope. After exchanging pleasantries, Alex explained his situation, showing Dr. Ryan the data from the signal and describing the events of the past week. Dr. Ryan listened intently, nodding occasionally, but saying little. When Alex finished, the doctor leaned back in his chair, tapping his pen against his chin. "This is fascinating," he said after a moment, "and potentially very dangerous." "What do you mean?"
Alex asked.
I mean that if what you're describing is true, if these aliens are somehow interfacing with your mind,
Abs-
then we're dealing with something far beyond anything we've encountered before. Your brain isn't just a computer. It's a complex, fragile system. Interference from an external source could have catastrophic consequences. Alex swallowed hard. The thought of his mind being tampered with terrified him, but he couldn't ignore the possibility. Is there any way to test it? He asked. To see if something's actually happening to me. Dr. Ryan nodded. We can run some tests, some MRI scans, EEGs. Maybe even try mapping your neural activity while you interact with the signal. But I have to warn you, Alex, this isn't going to be easy. And it's not without risks. Despite the warning, Alex agreed to proceed. Over the next few days, he underwent a battery of tests, each one more invasive than the last. During one session, Alex lay inside an MRI machine while listening to the decoded fragments of the alien message through headphones. As the recording played, the monitors tracking his brain activity lit up with unusual patterns. Spikes of electrical activity surged unpredictably, unlike anything Dr. Ryan or Sam had ever seen. This is incredible, Dr. Ryan muttered, staring at the screen. It's almost as if your brain is rewiring itself in response to the signal. What does that mean? Alex asked, his voice trembling. It means the aliens aren't just communicating with you. They're trying to integrate themselves into your neural pathways. They're hacking your mind, Alex. Literally rewriting parts of it. The revelation hit Alex like a punch to the gut, hacking his mind. It sounded like something out of a science fiction movie, not real life. Yet the evidence was undeniable. The headaches, the dreams, the glowing symbols, all of it pointed to one conclusion. The aliens weren't content with sending a simple message. They wanted something more. They wanted access to him, to humanity, to Earth. As the days passed, Alex began to notice subtle changes in himself. He could solve problems faster, recall information with startling clarity, and even anticipate outcomes in ways he never could before. At first, these abilities seemed like gifts, but they came at a cost. His emotions became harder to control. Small frustrations turned into bursts of anger. Memories surfaced unbidden, flooding his mind with images and feelings he couldn't explain. Sometimes, he caught himself speaking in phrases he didn't recognize, as if another voice were whispering in his ear. Sam noticed the changes too. One afternoon, while reviewing the latest test results, she confronted Alex about it. "You're not the same person you were a week ago," she said gently. "I'm worried about you." "I know," Alex admitted, "but I can't stop. Every time I try to pull away, it feels like they're pulling me back, like they won't let go." Sam sighed, "And we need to find a way to fight back, to protect you and everyone else." That night, Alex returned home and sat alone in his workshop, staring at the radio telescope that had started it all. For the first time, he questioned whether he'd made the right choice. Had his curiosity put the entire planet at risk? The thought weighed heavily on him, but he knew there was no turning back now. The aliens had chosen him for a reason, and he couldn't ignore their call. As he drifted off to sleep, the dreams returned, more vivid than ever. This time, the shadowy figures weren't just reaching out, they were speaking. Their voices, though fragmented, carried a sense of urgency. Images flashed before Alex's eyes, barren landscapes, crumbling cities, skies choked with ash. Desperation radiated from them, a plea for help that transcended words. When Alex woke up, tears streamed down his face. He understood now. The aliens weren't invaders or conquerors. They were survivors, clinging to existence in a dying world. Their civilization had collapsed under its own weight, and they saw humanity as their last hope. Their methods were reckless, invasive. They didn't understand the harm they were causing, or perhaps they didn't care. Alex knew what he had to do. He couldn't let them take over his mind, but he also couldn't abandon them. There had to be another way, a compromise, a solution that wouldn't sacrifice either side. With newfound resolve, Alex picked up his phone and called Sam. "We need to talk," he said. "I think I know how to reach them." The next morning, Alex met Sam at her lab, his mind racing with ideas. He had spent most of the night thinking about the aliens and their desperate attempt to connect. Their message wasn't just a cry for help, it was a lifeline they were throwing, blindly into the void, hoping someone would catch it. But Alex realized that while they were reaching out, they didn't fully understand what they were doing. They were hacking human minds without considering the consequences, driven by desperation rather than malice. Sam listened carefully as Alex explained his thoughts. "They're not invaders," he said. "They're refugees. Their world is dying, and they're trying to survive by merging with us. But if we let them take over, it could destroy Asandum." Sam nodded slowly. "So what's the plan? How do we stop them without cutting off communication completely?" "I don't know yet," Alex admitted, "but I think I can reach them. Maybe even talk back." Sam frowned. "You mean mentally? Like in your dreams?" "Exactly," Alex replied. "Every time I interact with them, it feels like I'm stepping into their world or letting them step into mine. If I can control that connection, maybe I can send a message of my own." Though skeptical, Sam agreed to help. Together, they devised a plan to strengthen Alex's ability to communicate with the aliens while protecting him from further harm. Dr. Ryan joined them later that day, bringing along equipment designed to monitor Alex's brain activity in real time. The goal was simple: establish a controlled link between Alex and the alien presence, allowing him to explore their consciousness safely. That evening, Alex lay on a hospital bed in the lab, surrounded by machines humming softly. Electrodes were attached to his scalp, feeding data to a computer screen where Sam and Dr. Ryan watched intently. Alex closed his eyes, focusing on the memories of his dreams, the glowing symbols, the shadowy figures, the sense of urgency that pulsed through his mind whenever the aliens reached out. At first, nothing happened.
Ow.
The monitors showed normal brain activity, and Alex felt only the faint hum of the equipment around him. Then, slowly, something shifted. A warmth spread through his chest, followed by a tingling sensation that traveled up his spine. His vision blurred, and suddenly he was no longer in the lab. He stood in a vast, otherworldly landscape filled with towering crystalline structures and skies painted in swirling colors. It was beautiful and terrifying. The shadowy figures appeared again, their forms clearer this time. They weren't monsters or invaders, looked almost human, though their features shimmered like reflections on water. One of them stepped forward, extending a hand toward Alex. Its touch sent waves of emotion crashing over him: fear, hope, despair, longing, all jumbled together in a chaotic flood. Alex steadied himself, focusing on the task at hand. "I hear you," he said aloud, though his voice sounded strange in this alien realm. "I know why you're here." The figure tilted its head, as if studying him. Then, without warning, images flooded Alex's mind. He saw their world a planet ravaged by war and ecological collapse. Cities reduced to rubble, oceans boiling away, skies choked with toxic clouds. Billions of lives lost, entire species wiped out. And yet amidst the devastation was a glimmer of hope. A plan to preserve their civilization by uploading their consciousness into new hosts. "Hosts like Alex? You chose me," Alex said, his voice trembling. "Why?" The answer came not in words, but in feelings, a mix of curiosity, recognition, and inevitability. The aliens hadn't chosen Alex randomly. His experiments with the radio telescope had acted like a beacon, drawing them to him. His mind, already attuned to patterns and frequencies, made him an ideal candidate for their experiment. But Alex sensed something else too: uncertainty. The aliens weren't sure if their plan would work. They were gambling everything on the chance that humanity might save them. As Alex absorbed these revelations, anger flared within him. "You can't just take what you want," he said firmly. "You're hurting me. Hurting us. There has to be another way." The figures paused, their expressions unreadable. For a moment, Alex thought they might reject his plea. Then one of them extended its hand again, this time offering not domination, but understanding. Alex hesitated, then reached out to grasp it. In that instant, a surge of energy coursed through him, unlike anything he'd ever felt before. Wasn't just information being exchanged, it was a merging of minds. blending of two vastly different forms of consciousness back in the lab. Alarms blared as Alex's brain activity spiked dangerously high. Sam and Dr. Ryan rushed to stabilize him, shouting instructions to each other as the machines threatened to overload. "We're losing him," Dr. Ryan yelled, adjusting the settings on the monitoring equipment. "No, wait," Sam countered. "Look at the data. His neural pathways are expanding. He's not shutting down, he's evolving." Reluctantly, Dr. Ryan backed off, allowing the process to continue. On the screen, Alex's brain lit up like a supernova, regions previously dormant, now blazing with activity. When the surge finally subsided, Alex opened his eyes, gasping for air. "What? What just happened?" he asked weakly. "You tell us," Sam replied, her voice shaking. "Your brain activity went off the charts. Are you okay?" Alex nodded slowly, his mind still reeling from the experience. "I think so." "Different? Stronger?" Dr. Ryan examined the readings, his brow furrowed. "This is unprecedented. Your cognitive abilities have increased exponentially. You're accessing parts of your brain that most people never use. But at what cost?" Alex didn't answer. Instead, he focused inward, exploring the changes within himself. Memories that weren't his own, surface snippets of alien history, fragments of their science and technology. He could feel their emotions, their hopes and fears, intertwining with his own. Yet beneath it all, he remained distinctly human. Somehow, during the connection, he had fought back against the alien intrusion, asserting his will and gaining control over parts of their shared consciousness. Over the next few days, Alex began experimenting with his newfound abilities. He could solve complex equations in seconds, visualize abstract concepts with ease, and even manipulate electronic devices with his thoughts. At first, it felt exhilarating, like unlocking a hidden potential buried deep inside him. But the more he delved into the alien knowledge, the more he realized the true extent of their intentions. "They wanted to overwrite me," Alex told Sam one evening as they sat in her office. "To erase who I am and replace it with one of them. But when I pushed back, I found a weakness. Their collective consciousness sits vulnerable. If I can exploit it, I might be able to shut them down." Sam stared at him, wide-eyed. "You saying you want to hack them back?" "Yes," Alex said firmly. "If they won't listen, we'll make them." Together, Alex, Sam, and Dr. Ryan began developing a plan. Using the alien technology embedded in Alex's mind, they created a virus-like program designed to infiltrate the alien network and disable their ability to interface with humans. The process would require Alex to merge completely with the alien consciousness, risking permanent damage or worse to both sides. As the days passed, Alex grew increasingly determined. He knew the stakes were high, but he also knew he couldn't let the aliens succeed. Their survival shouldn't come at the expense of humanity's freedom. With Sam and Dr. Ryan's support, he prepared for the final confrontation, knowing it would be the hardest thing he'd ever done. One night, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Alex thought about everything that had led him to this point. From the quiet evenings spent stargazing to the surreal journey into the alien realm, every step had brought him closer to this moment. He didn't know what the future held, but he was ready to face it head-on. Tomorrow, he would fight back not just for himself, but for everyone. The day had finally come. Alex stood in a secure facility deep underground, surrounded by equipment that hummed with energy. Dr. Ryan and Sam had worked tirelessly to set up the space, ensuring it was isolated from any external interference. The room was dimly lit, with monitors lining the walls and wires snaking across the floor like veins. Alex sat in the center of it all, strapped into a chair designed to stabilize his body, while his mind ventured into uncharted territory. Sam approached him, her expression a mix of concern and determination. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. "Once we start, there's no turning back." Alex nodded, though his hands trembled slightly. "I'm sure we can't let them win. If I don't do this now, they'll keep trying until they succeed." Dr. Ryan joined them, holding a tablet displaying the final version of the virus program. "This is our best shot," he said. The code is designed to infiltrate their network and disable their ability to interface with human minds. But remember, Alex Shore, not just delivering the payload, you're going to be inside their collective consciousness. It's going to feel overwhelming. I know, Alex replied, his voice steady, despite the fear gnawing at him. Make sure you keep me grounded. Don't let me get lost in there. With everything in place, they began the procedure. Electrodes were attached to Alex's head, feeding data into the computers while monitoring his vital signs. As the machines powered up, Alex closed his eyes and focused on the connection he'd established with the aliens. He reached out mentally, searching for the thread that tied him to their world. It wasn't hard to find, faintly in the back of his mind, like a heartbeat waiting to be followed. When Alex opened the link, the transition was immediate and jarring. One moment, he was in the sterile confines of the lab. The next, he stood in the alien landscape once more. The crystalline towers loomed above him, shimmering under skies painted in shifting colors. The air vibrated with an almost musical hum, and the ground beneath his feet felt alive, responding to his presence. The shadowy figures appeared around him, their forms flickering like flames. This time, however, they weren't welcoming. Expressions, once curious and desperate, were now hostile. They circled him, their movements synchronized, as if guided by a single mind. Alex could feel their anger, their frustration at being resisted. They had expected compliance, submission. What they got instead was defiance. "You've pushed too far," one of them said, its voice echoing in Alex's mind. "You will surrender, or we will take what we need." Alex clenched his fists, steadying himself. "No, you've already taken enough. I'm here to stop you." Before they could react, Alex activated the virus program. Streams of alien knowledge flooded his mind as he navigated their network, searching for vulnerabilities. The experience was disorienting, like diving into an ocean of light and sound, where every thought and emotion collided chaotically. He saw glimpses of their history, their plans, their fears. They had gambled everything on this attempt to merge with humanity, believing it was their only chance for survival. But Alex also saw cracks in their resolve, flaws in their systems that he could exploit. The aliens fought back, flooding his mind with images meant to overwhelm him. He saw visions of destruction, cities crumbling, oceans boiling, skies darkened by ash. He felt their pain, their loss, their desperation. For a moment he faltered, unsure if he could continue. Then he remembered why he was doing this, not just for himself, but for everyone who would suffer if the aliens succeeded. Drawing on the strength he'd gained from their earlier connection, Alex pushed forward, planted the virus deep within their network, weaving it into the fabric of their collective consciousness. Each step was agonizing, as if he were forcing his way through a wall of fire. The aliens screamed in unison, their voices merging into a deafening roar that threatened to shatter his mind. Yet Alex held on, driven by sheer willpower. Back in the lab, Sam and Dr. Ryan watched anxiously as Alex's vitals fluctuated wildly. His heart rate spiked, and sweat poured down his face, but he remained conscious, his jaw clenched in determination. On the monitors, streams of data scrolled rapidly, showing the virus spreading through the alien network. Dr. Ryan adjusted the settings on the equipment, ensuring Alex's brain activity stayed within safe limits, or as safe as they could hope. "For under the circumstances, he's doing it," Sam whispered, her eyes glued to the screen. "He's actually doing it." But the aliens weren't giving up without a fight. They launched a counterattack, probing Alex's mind for weaknesses. Memories surfaced, unbidden childhood fears, moments of doubt, regrets he thought he'd buried long ago. They tried to use these against him, twisting them into weapons designed to break his resolve. For a brief moment, Alex felt himself slipping, drowning in a sea of despair. Then he heard Sam's voice, faint but clear, cutting through the chaos. "Stay with us, Alex. You're stronger than this." Her words anchored him, pulling him back from the brink. With renewed focus, Alex completed the upload, embedding the virus deep within the alien system. As the final lines of code locked into place, the connection severed abruptly, leaving Alex gasping for air. In the alien realm, the crystalline towers began to crumble, their shimmering surfaces cracking and fading. The shadowy figures dissolved into mist, their screams fading into silence. Alex felt the weight of their presence lift from his mind, replaced by an eerie calm. He knew the battle wasn't over yet. The virus still needed time to fully disable their systems, but the hardest part was done. When Alex opened his eyes, found himself back in the lab, slumped in the chair. Sam and Dr. Ryan rushed to his side, checking his vitals and making sure he was stable. "You did it," Sam said, tears streaming down her face. "You actually did it." Alex managed a weak smile, though his body ached and his mind felt drained. "Did we stop them?" he asked. "Horselie." Dr. Ryan nodded. "The virus is active. Their ability to interface with human minds has been neutralized. They won't be able to try this again." For the first time in weeks, Alex allowed himself to relax. The constant pressure in his head was gone, replaced by a sense of relief and a lingering sadness. He had seen the aliens' suffering, their desperation, and understood why they had acted as they did. Though he had stopped them, he couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt for what might have been. Over the next few days, Alex recovered slowly, his body and mind readjusting to normalcy. The heightened abilities he had gained began to fade, leaving him feeling strangely empty without the alien presence. He was just Alex Carter again, an ordinary man with an extraordinary story to tell. Sam visited him often, bringing updates on the aftermath of the incident. The signal that had started it all had vanished, leaving no trace of the alien's existence. To the outside world, nothing had changed. But for Alex, Sam, and Dr. Ryan, everything was different. They had faced something unimaginable and emerged, victorious, though the cost had been high. One evening, as Alex sat on the roof of his house staring at the stars, Sam joined him. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. Alex shook his head. "No, I wish it could have ended differently for them, I mean. But they left us no choice. We had to protect ourselves." Sam nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Do you think there are others out there? Other civilizations? Watching? Waiting?" "Probably," Alex replied. "But maybe next time we'll be ready." As they sat together in silence, the vastness of the universe stretched above them, full of mysteries yet to be uncovered. Whatever lay beyond the stars, Alex knew one thing for certain. Humanity would face it not as victims, but as survivors. The days that followed Alex's victory were filled with mixed emotions. On one hand, the immediate threat had been neutralized. The alien presence was gone, their ability to hack human minds dismantled by the virus Alex had deployed. But on the other hand, the aftermath left him feeling hollow. The heightened abilities he'd briefly possessed his sharp mind, his uncanny perception were fading away, leaving him struggling to adjust to life as it used to be. He felt like a runner who had trained for years only to lose the race at the finish line. Sam and Dr. Ryan tried their best to help, but they couldn't fully understand what Alex was going through. To them, the mission had been a success. Humanity was safe, and the aliens' dangerous experiment had been stopped. For Alex, however, it wasn't so simple. He had connected deeply with the aliens, seen their suffering, and even sympathized with their plight, though he knew he'd made the right choice. A part of him couldn't shake the feeling that he'd betrayed them in some way. One afternoon, while sitting alone in his workshop, Alex replayed the events in his mind. He remembered the desperation in the aliens' voices, the crumbling cities of their dying world, the hope they had pinned on humanity. They weren't monsters. They were survivors, just like anyone else would be in their situation. Yet their methods had been reckless, invasive, and ultimately unacceptable. Alex sighed and leaned back in his chair, staring at the radio telescope that had started it all. "What happens now?" he muttered to himself. As if in response, his phone buzzed on the desk. It was Sam. She rarely called during the day unless it was important. Alex picked up the call. "Hey, Sam. What's up? You've got a problem," she said, her tone urgent. "Something weird is happening." Alex sat up straighter. "What do you mean?" "The aliens are gone, right? They should be," Sam replied. "But there's something else. I think they're fighting back." Sam explained that strange signals had begun appearing again, not from outer space this time, but from within Earth's atmosphere. These new transmissions were weaker than the original signal, fragmented and erratic, but they carried traces of the same alien patterns. At first, Sam and Dr. Ryan thought it might be residual echoes of the earlier connection, leftover fragments of the alien network trying to reestablish itself. But as the signals grew stronger, they realized something far more alarming. The aliens hadn't given up. That evening, Alex met Sam and Dr. Ryan at the university lab. The equipment was already set up, monitoring the mysterious broadcasts. They listened to the faint pulses. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Now the rhythm was familiar, almost nostalgic, yet distorted, as if the aliens were reaching out with what little strength they had left. "They're not done," Alex said quietly. "They're trying to recover." Dr. Ryan nodded grimly. "It looks like the virus didn't completely destroy their systems. It disrupted them, sure, but not enough to wipe them out entirely. They're adapting. And targeting us again," Sam added. "Only this time, they're not just focusing on you, Alex. They're probing other people too." Alex frowned. "What do you mean?" Sam pulled up a series of reports on her laptop. Over the past few days, several individuals across the country had reported experiencing symptoms similar to what Alex had gone through: vivid dreams, unexplained malfunctions in electronic devices, and sudden changes in behavior. Most of these cases were isolated incidents, dismissed as stress or coincidence. But when viewed together, they painted a disturbing picture. The aliens were attempting to expand their reach, testing multiple hosts instead of relying solely on Alex. "They're learning," Dr. Ryan said. "They know how to resist the virus now, and they're using smaller, subtler connections to avoid detection. If we don't act quickly, they'll find someone else to use as a gateway." Alex clenched his fists. He had hoped the battle was over, but it seemed the war was just beginning. "So what do we do?" he asked. "We can't fight them off forever." "No, you can't," Dr. Ryan agreed. "But maybe you don't have to. We need to upgrade the virus, make it smarter, faster, and more resilient, something that can adapt to their countermeasures." "That's easier said than done," Sam interjected. "We're talking about advanced alien technology here." "Even with everything," Alex brought back, "we barely scratched the surface of what they're capable of." "Then we dig deeper," Alex said firmly. "If they're still reaching out, then the link isn't completely severed. I can go back in, find out what they're doing, and plant an improved version of the virus before they get any stronger." Sam hesitated. "Are you sure about this? Last time nearly killed you." "I don't have a choice," Alex replied. "If I don't stop them now, they'll keep coming until they succeed. And next time, they might not leave room for mistakes." Reluctantly, Sam and Dr. Ryan agreed to prepare for another attempt. They spent the next 2 days refining the virus program, incorporating new algorithms designed to anticipate and counteract the aliens' adaptive strategies. Meanwhile, Alex worked on strengthening his mental defenses, practicing meditation techniques and visualization exercises to maintain focus during the connection. He knew the stakes were higher this time. If he lost control, the consequences could be catastrophic. When the preparations were complete, Alex returned to the secure facility for the final phase of the operation. The setup was similar to before, with electrodes attached to his head and monitors tracking his brain activity. This time, however, the atmosphere was heavier, charged with tension. Everyone understood the risks involved. One wrong move, and the aliens could regain the upper hand. As Alex settled into the chair, Sam placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You've got this," she said softly. "Just remember, you're not alone. We're right here with you," Alex gave her a small smile. "Thanks, Sam. I'll need that." With a deep breath, Alex closed his eyes and reopened the link. Instantly, he was transported back to the alien realm. The crystalline towers stood battered and broken, their once pristine surfaces marred by cracks and fissures. The air hummed with a low, mournful frequency, as if the entire landscape was grieving. The shadowy figures appeared around him, fewer in number than before, but no less menacing. Their forms flickered erratically, evidence of the damage inflicted by the initial virus. "You cannot win," one of them said, its voice laced with both anger and sorrow. "Even if you destroy us, others will come. Your kind is not prepared." Alex steadied himself, refusing to be intimidated. "Maybe not," he admitted, "but we're learning. And we're not afraid to fight back." Without waiting for a response, Alex activated the upgraded virus. Streams of alien knowledge surged into his mind once more, but this time he navigated the network with greater precision. The improvements to the program allowed him to bypass many of the defenses. The aliens had erected targeting key nodes in their system with surgical accuracy. Each strike weakened their collective consciousness, unraveling the threads that bound them together. The aliens retaliated fiercely, flooding Alex's mind with overwhelming sensations. Pain, fear, and despair crashed over him like waves, threatening to drown him. Visions of destruction played out in vivid detail, entire worlds consumed by fire, civilizations reduced to ash. Alex gritted his teeth, fighting to stay focused. He visualized the virus spreading through their network, consuming their defenses, erasing their foothold in his mind. Back in the lab, Sam and Dr. Ryan watched anxiously as Alex's vitals fluctuated wildly. His heart rate soared, and his muscles tensed as if he were physically battling an invisible foe. "He's pushing himself too hard," Dr. Ryan muttered, adjusting the settings on the equipment. "If we don't stabilize him soon, he could collapse." "He has to finish," Sam insisted. "If he stops now, they'll recover. We can't let that happen." As the minutes dragged on, Alex's resolve began to waver. The strain of maintaining the connection was taking its toll, and the aliens' attacks showed no sign of relenting. Just when it seemed like he might give in, a memory surfaced, a quiet moment from his childhood. Sitting under the stars with his father, dreaming of adventures among the cosmos, that simple image grounded him, reminding him why he was fighting. Summoning every ounce of strength, Alex delivered the final blow. The virus locked into place, embedding itself deep within the alien network. As the program activated, the crystalline towers shattered completely, collapsing into dust. The shadowy figures dissolved into nothingness, their screams fading into silence. The alien realm itself began to fade, dissolving into darkness. When Alex opened his eyes, he found himself back in the lab, gasping for air. His body ached, and his vision blurred, but he was alive. Sam and Dr. Ryan rushed to his side, checking his vitals and ensuring he was stable. "Did it work?" he asked weakly. "It did," Dr. Ryan confirmed, reviewing the data on the monitors. "Their network is completely disabled. There's no trace of them left." Alex let out a shaky breath, relief washing over him. It was finally over. The aliens were gone for good this time. In the days that followed, Alex struggled to return to normalcy. Experience had changed him in ways he couldn't fully articulate. Though the alien presence was gone, its influence lingered in his thoughts, a constant reminder of how close humanity had come to disaster. Sam and Dr. Ryan continued their research, analyzing the remnants of the alien technology in hopes of preventing future threats. Weeks passed after the final confrontation with the aliens, and life in the small town of Montana slowly returned to its usual rhythm. For Alex Carter, however, things were far from normal. The battle had left him changed not just physically, but emotionally. He often found himself staring at the stars, wondering about the fate of the alien civilization he had fought so hard to stop. Their desperation had been real, their suffering undeniable. Though they had tried to invade humanity's minds, Alex couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for what they had lost. Sam visited him frequently, bringing updates from her research with Dr. Ryan. Together, they had analyzed every fragment of alien technology Alex had brought back, piecing together clues about their origins and intentions. What they discovered was both fascinating and sobering. The aliens' home planet had once been a thriving world, rich with resources and advanced technology. But centuries of unchecked exploitation had led to ecological collapse, leaving them with no choice but to seek refuge elsewhere. Earth had been their last hope, a gamble born out of desperation. They weren't evil, Sam said one evening as she sat with Alex on his porch, just desperate and maybe scared. Alex nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. I know. That's what makes it hard.
Yes.
I stopped them, but part of me wonders if there was another way, a way to help them without risking everything we have. Sam sighed. Maybe someday we'll find that balance. For now, though, you did what you had to do. You protected us. Alex appreciated her words, but they didn't fully ease the weight he carried. He had saved humanity from an immediate threat, but the experience had opened his eyes to a much larger truth. Earth wasn't alone in the universe. Other civilizations existed out there, some peaceful, others dangerous. Humanity's days of isolation were over, whether it was ready or not. A few weeks later, Alex received an unexpected visitor. It was Dr. Lucas Ryan, carrying a folder filled with new findings. We've been studying the data you retrieved, he explained as they sat in Alex's workshop. There's something you need to see. Dr. Ryan spread out several documents on the table. They contained maps of star systems, diagrams of alien technology, and fragments of their language translated into English. One document caught Alex's attention, a message buried deep within the alien code. Unlike the earlier signals, this one wasn't aggressive or invasive. It was a plea written in simple terms. To those who hear this, we failed. Our time has ended. Learn from our mistakes. Protect your world before it is too late. Alex stared at the message, his throat tightening. It wasn't addressed to him specifically, but it felt personal all the same. The aliens had left behind a warning not just for humanity, but for any species that might stumble upon their remains. They wanted others to avoid the same fate they had suffered. This changes everything, Alex said quietly. It's not just about stopping threats anymore. It's about learning how to survive. Dr. Ryan nodded. Exactly. The aliens' downfall wasn't just bad luck, it was the result of choices they made. Choices we can still avoid. Over. The next few days, Alex, Sam, and Dr. Ryan worked together to compile their findings into a report. They knew sharing this information would be risky. Governments and corporations might misuse it, turning the alien technology into weapons or tools for profit. But keeping it hidden felt wrong too. The message was clear. Humanity needed to prepare for a future. Where contact with extraterrestrial life was inevitable, they decided to release the report anonymously, uploading it to secure servers accessible only by trusted scientists and researchers. Alongside the technical data, they included the aliens' warning, hoping it would inspire caution rather than fear. If even one person reads this and decides to make a difference, Sam said, then it's worth it. As the weeks turned into months, Alex began to adjust to his new reality. The heightened abilities he'd gained during the alien connection had faded completely, leaving him feeling like an ordinary man again. At first, the loss had been difficult to accept. He missed the clarity, the sense of purpose that came with knowing he was part of something bigger. But over time, he realized that being ordinary wasn't such a bad thing. It gave him the freedom to live his life on his own terms, without the constant pressure of cosmic responsibility. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that his journey wasn't truly over. The stars above seemed closer now, their light carrying whispers of possibilities yet unseen. Alex spent many nights stargazing, his old radio telescope humming softly beside him. He didn't expect to detect another signal, nor did he want to, but he couldn't resist the pull of curiosity that had driven him since childhood. One evening, as he adjusted the telescope's dials, Sam joined him outside. She carried 2 cups of coffee, handing one to him with a smile. "Any luck?" she asked. "Not yet," Alex replied, taking a sip. "But I'm not giving up." Sam chuckled. "You never do." They stood side by side in comfortable silence, watching the sky stretch endlessly above them. After a while, Sam spoke again. "Do you think we'll ever meet them? Aliens, I mean? Face to face?" Alex thought for a moment before answering. "Maybe. Someday. When we're ready. And when will that be? When we learn how to take care of each other and our planet. Till then, we keep looking, keep listening. Who knows what's out there?" Sam nodded, her eyes reflecting. "The starlight sounds like a plan." Months later, Alex's report began making waves in scientific circles. Researchers around the world studied the alien technology and warnings, sparking debates about humanity's role in the universe. Some dismissed the findings as speculative fiction, while others embraced them as a call to action. Slowly but surely, efforts to protect Earth's environment gained momentum, inspired in part by the aliens' tragic story. For Alex, the impact of his actions became clear one crisp autumn morning. As he walked through town, he noticed a group of children gathered near the library, staring at a poster taped to the window. It read, "Protect our planet. Learn from the stars." Beneath the bold letters was a sketch of a distant planet surrounded by rings of debris, a reminder of what could happen if humanity failed to change its ways. Alex smiled faintly, feeling a glimmer of hope. The aliens' legacy lived on not as conquerors or invaders, but as teachers. Their warning had reached ears willing to listen, hearts willing to act. That night, Alex climbed onto his roof one last time, gazing up at the endless expanse of stars. He didn't know what the future held, but he was certain of one thing: humanity wasn't alone. And though the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, it was also filled with opportunities to grow, to adapt, and to thrive. As he lay back, against the cool metal of the roof, Alex closed his eyes, letting the quiet hum of the universe wash over him. Whatever mysteries the cosmos held, he was ready to face them not with fear, but with courage. Because in the end, survival wasn't just about fighting back. It was about learning, growing, and finding a way forward together.